Sometimes God takes us through a process or allows situations to happen. And I really wonder, how do we respond? I had a unique situation that happened with me this week, and you all know I'm an open book, so I'm going to be very, very open and honest about it. So many of you are aware I've been in the staffing industry for about 31 years, and we staff for some pretty major accounts. And I was just finishing up, or revising, I should say, editing again, one of the chapters in my book. And yes, my book will be out soon, but it's a very strong chapter. I don't want to go into too much details, but it's a chapter of me actually addressing Satan. You know, it's a chapter addressing the enemy. And it's a chapter on, I'll just kind of paraphrase it, but it goes something like, you thought you had me. It goes something, and those are not the words I use, but that's the context of it, is that you really messed up when you left me in the presence of my Father. You know, you had me so low and on my knees. But you miscalculated some things, because all of that stuff that I was going through, that's what God used to build me to where I'm at now. And it's a letter to him. And I worked literally for almost 5 hours re-editing that chapter. It was actually already written, but there was something in my spirit, and God was just prompting me, I want you to rewrite this some more. And so it was a very, very, very strong letter. And would you know, the very next day when I went into work, and this all happened this week, by the way, got a call at my company, one of our major accounts that we provide staffing services for. They're putting their hiring on freeze right now. We didn't do anything wrong, by the way. They love us. We've done a great job. We're a very professional staffing agency, but probably one of the largest accounts that we have. They called and said, Z, just wanted to call you personally. You guys have done such a phenomenal job, but we're just going to have a freeze right now on all of our hiring. Then, not long after that, I can't remember the exact timeline, but another major account I've been staffing for literally almost 20 years, if I can be honest, got a call from them. And they had to put a freeze on hiring for positions and put a hold. And then another situation where we had some people interviewing, and all of a sudden the manager said, hey, Z, we're going to have to hold off for a minute. So here's where I'm going with this. If you can imagine, and I'm sure some of you are aware of this, sometimes things like that happen out of the blue. Now, I don't want to go into too much detail, but these companies were in different industries and such, and it's kind of abnormal for something like that to happen across the board with different industries, you know, and you getting those kind of calls. So I sat down with my crew, and I hope they don't mind me sharing this. They all sat around, you know, we're in a conference, at the conference section, and I won't go into detail, but I'll just say they're looking at me like, this is some pretty major stuff that just happened. And there was such a calmness in my spirit, because I know who has me. I know who's got me. And when you've been through these things for a while, when you've been through the ups and downs in life, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but sometimes when things come at me now, I'm like, God to take care of it. He's got us. And what I love, I won't share the details of the conversation, but I love one of my managers said to me, he said, Z, and he's from a pretty major corporation. He said, one of the things I love so much about working here and about being here with you, and he's been with me for years, he says, the strong leader that you are and the calmness that you give the crew when we go through our ups and downs, when we go through our cycles. He's like, there's such a confidence in everyone that, hey, we're gonna get through this. And we are. We're going to be fine. I'm going somewhere with this, because the whole topic of this is when God pivots you. When God pivots you. That's going to be the topic of this. And by the way, you're listening to Unlocking Greatness podcast with Zenja Glass. Feel free to call me Z. So I've not always been like this, but I think because I've gone through so many ups and downs, and because I do my best at least to dive into my scriptures, and I'm going to talk about a few passages in a minute, I've seen so many pivots, so many situations when God has allowed things to happen. And on one end, it looks so doggone bad. You know, remember when the Israelites were being freed out of Egypt, and it looked like, oh my gosh, we're finally free. Things are happening. Things are it's going good. And all of a sudden it talks about how, I think it says the Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and how Pharaoh turned around and went back after them. And then they're like, basically, why did you set us up like this? We're going to die. They're coming at us. We thought everything was fine. And now what is this? Where'd this come from? not knowing that God was going to part the Red Sea for them. You guys know the story. I don't even have to turn to it. Not knowing that Pharaoh's army was going to be coming right behind them and be drowned in the Red Sea, drowning the enemies away, and they were going to come out on the other side. You get my point? There are so many situations that happen and that has happened in the Bible to give us a framework or reference when we go through unexpected circumstances. Now, I've been around a long time, so I'd be lying if I didn't tell you we tried our best to prepare for those kind of moments so that we can always weather those kind of storms. That's just being fiscally responsible and, walking in wisdom. But I also be lying to you if I told you that it didn't hurt. Because I'm like, okay, God, let me get this right. I know I love you with all my heart, mind, body, and soul. I know you're not punishing me. So where's the pivot? And this is where I want to help you guys a little bit. I want to take my time with this. Where's the pivot? Where is the opportunity that you're seeing that we're missing? What is it that you're shaping and showing in me that I need to do? So I had a talk with my team. I sat everybody down because you could tell they were a little nervous and they're like, okay, this is some pretty major news. And I had the biggest smile and the most calm spirit. And it wasn't me faking. I wasn't faking at all. I just knew, this is an amazing opportunity that God has given us to pivot. So when I had my meeting with my crew, when I tell you the level of energy and excitement that went up in that room was on a whole nother level. And this leads to sort of an important announcement that I want to make. I've been battling for a while with balancing. How do I give so much to my core, which pays our bills, by the way, and how do I give to my podcast, to this whole side of me that wants to develop these seeds that God's given me? So this is part a podcast discussion and part of confession. I have a very hard time with balancing. Lord, this is my heart and soul, what I just truly love doing, and I can do in my sleep. And at the same time, I got bills I got to pay, And so I said, maybe this is an opportunity that God has given me to really put more into my podcast. More of an opportunity, finish my book, get it out there. And there's a couple things, I don't want to go into detail, but some of the changes we're making with my staffing agency. And when I tell you that they are beyond excited, they're like, oh my God, Z, that's what we've always wanted to do anyway. And so I gave each of them assignments to do and had them each do a presentation so that they can take ownership of some spinoffs that I want to do. Now, I'm kind of making it sound easy, but it's not. But the point I'm getting at is that if you're at a point in your life where you just got some bad news or things didn't go the way you wanted it to go, or maybe you have a business, maybe you're an entrepreneur like I am, and you just got some bad news after bad news after bad news, I just want you to take a moment to look at your situation again. Look at it again through the eyes of God. I am so encouraged, it's not even funny, because I know the God that I serve. I know that God, when he allows a door to be closed, he always opens another door for us. Every single time God steps in. Every single time. And I'm sure he's done it in your life as well. So, I do want to give a little shameless plug and say, if you know any company that's looking for staffing services, you better have them call me. We staff a lot for IT, a lot of software developers, software engineers, machinists, engineers in general, a lot of machinists, mechanics, and, we do some admin and customer service and those kind of spots as well. So if your company's hiring, tell them to call Z. That's another subject. But anyway, here's where I want to encourage you guys with. We're going to look at a couple passages in the Bible when there was a pivot or some situation that happened. And I want to start a little bit. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about, is it Gideon that we talked about? I'm not going to talk too much about Gideon because we've talked about Gideon a lot. But I can't talk about when God pivots you without at least mentioning him. First of all, God is the one that gives us the ability to succeed. He's the one that makes us prosperous. He's the one that actually has all the answers. And so what I love about the story of Gideon, you guys remember it, and for those of you who are new, look in Judges chapter 7. Judges chapter 7 is the story of Gideon when he was fighting against I think it was the Midianites that he was fighting against. And what I love about this story is he had about 32 or so thousand men to go into war with. He still was even outnumbered with 32, just so you know. I don't know the specific, but he was outnumbered. And when he was about to go into war, let me read this passage in Gideon chapter 7. it says in verse 2, the Lord said to Gideon, you have too many men for me to deliver Midian into their hands. In order that Israel may not boast against me that her own strength has saved her. Announce now to the people, anyone who trembles with fear may turn back and leave Mount Gilead. So 22,000 men left while 10,000 remained. Now, you all know we talked about this before, but I just have to bring it up again. 22,000 men turned around. And remember, the issue that I had with that is, well, God, what was the point? Like, what's the big deal? The man had 32,000 soldiers. They're about to go into war. The more, the better, right? But you guys already know that God can do so much more with less. He can still help you be successful with or without that job. He can still grow my company. He can still do spinoffs for me. He can still bless me and prosper me with or without those accounts. And they're great accounts. I have nothing against them. With or without. He can introduce for me different streams of revenue. I've seen him do it over and over again. Go back and listen to that podcast about my testimony and the grace of God and how he's moved in my life. So in this story with Gideon, which is what I love so much about this, I'm so grateful God allowed this to be in the Bible, to be here for eternity. What I just so love about it is he had 32,000. He had enough where he thought, I can probably make it with this. It's going to be hard, but we may have a small chance, but at least we have a chance of winning. And I love that God took that small opportunity, that small chance away and brought him down to 10,000. It ain't over yet. Now, I'm going to go a little fast with this because we've read this story many times before. In verse 4, but the Lord said to Gideon, so now Gideon's got 10,000. You got to keep that in mind. But the Lord said to Gideon, there are still too many men. Take them down to the water and I'll sift them for you there. If I say this one shall go with you, he shall go. But if I say this one shall not go with you, he shall not go. So Gideon took the men down to the water. There the Lord told him, separate those who lap the water with their tongues like a dog from those who kneel down to drink. 300 men lapped with their hands to their mouths. All the rest got down on their knees to drink. Now check this out. The Lord said to Gideon, with the 300 men that lapped, I will save you and give the Midianites into your hands. Let all the other men go, each to his own place. So Gideon sent the rest of the Israelites to their tents, but kept the 300 who took over the provisions and trumpets of the others. I'm not going to even finish reading the rest of that story because you guys know how it ends. God gave that man a strategy that was out of this world. Some kind of way they had jars and things and some things he did to separate them all around. And at nighttime, they all were hitting it and blasting these trumpets. And to the people that they were attacking, it made it sound like there was just tens of thousands of people coming at them. It was a strategy that God gave him. That's how I sat in front of my crew when they were looking at me, looking a little nervous, like what in the world just happened? I walked in that room with the strategy that God gave me. Now, I didn't have all the answers, just to be clear. But I'm one of those people that believes you get the right people on the bus and then you figure out the direction to go. And I have a fantastic crew and we're figuring that out. But the point I'm getting at is that what I do know, I may not understand it all right now, but I know God's strategy is up on me. And God has secretly told me, oh, I'm about to bless you over and over and over. Because I know that you love me and you proclaim my name. You're not going to tremble and worry about losing this because I'm about to do some greater things in your life. I say the same thing to you. Spend that time with God and let him speak to you. And don't be afraid of the pivot. Sometimes when you look at your situations, you can be very tempted to think, what in the world is going on? Oh my God, I just lost my job, right? Oh my goodness, what's going on with the stock market, right? Oh my goodness, I just lost this big client. Oh my goodness, my business is not going like it's supposed to. Or sometimes it can be going well and you're still stressed out, right? But sometimes God is pivoting you. You know how many things I wanted to happen in my life and God allowed that door to close, and I'm so grateful to God, thank you, Jesus, that he closed those doors. I kind of don't want to say this, but I almost feel less pressure and more energy to perform. I don't even want to use the word perform, to do this. You know, it's almost a freeing in my spirit of, okay, now I really get to pour into this community even more. Now I really get to dive in my word even more. Like, God knows that this is what feeds me. This is actually what feeds me. There's a pivot that's happening in my life real time, and I'm just being very open, sharing it with you all. There's a pivot I'm going through right now. I don't have all the answers. Those were some pretty big accounts that had to put some hiring on hold that we staff for all the time, just so you're aware. I don't have all the answers. But this is going to be part of my testimony. So later when I film again, whenever it is God wants me to come back online and share what's going on, you guys are going to see in real time. Wow, I remember when she spoke about that and said that, man, look how God turned that around. Same with you. You don't have time to be sitting and worrying and stressing about mess that's going on and how you're going to make it, what you're going to do, how am I going to do. No. What you're going to do, what I pray you do, I should say, ask God to show you what's in your hands. Let's look at a story in the Bible about that. And I don't care how long this podcast takes. If it takes a little bit longer, then to God be the glory. Remember the story, is it in 2 Kings? The story's in 2 Kings about the widow's oil. Remember the lady that in 2 Kings chapter 4, and maybe this podcast will only relate to 2 or 3 people, and that's okay. But somebody's going through something and needs to know you ain't got nothing to be worried about. Nothing at all. That little situation that happened is only the beginning of a pivot that God is doing in your life. Check out this lady in 2 Kings 4 about the widow's oil. And yes, we've talked about her before too, but so what? I want to talk about her again. The wife of a man from the company of the prophets cried out to Elisha, "Your servant, my husband, is dead, and you know that he revered the Lord. But now his creditor is coming to take my 2 boys as slaves." So she had no money. Her husband died. And now they're coming to collect debt. And I guess at that time, they used to take your kids if you didn't have the money. So you talk about stress. Elijah replied to her, "How can I help you? Tell me, what do you have in your house?" "Your servant has nothing there at all," she said, "except a little oil." Now, before I even go on with this story, because the vast majority of you know what happened, look at her perspective. Creditors are coming. They're going to take my kids away as slaves. Elijah said, "What do you have in your house?" Which is a very interesting question. What do you have in your house? What's already been given to you? What do you have that you overlooking? You think is nothing. And her response was, what did she say? "Your servant has nothing there at all." She said, "I don't have anything." Really? Look at it again. Look at it again. Especially for those of you who are feeling that you have absolutely nothing and you don't know how you're going to get through this. Now, I don't want to be insensitive to people who are going through some really severe situations. God knows I don't. But look at the situation again. Because there's many things that you can do where you don't need a dime really to get it started. If you're able to watch me on camera right now, some kind of way that means you have internet access. Am I right? Some kind of way that means that you can get on a social media channel. Are you even aware, and I'm just throwing this out there because it's just in my spirit to say, are you even aware of the opportunities that are available to you if you can go online and if you can post something or say something on social media? Are you even aware? Are you aware that we need more podcasts out there? We need more bloggers. We need more people writing books. And you may say, well, Z, people don't want to hear my story. People won't buy anything from me. I don't think so. This lady is saying, I have nothing. And all I'm saying is, can you look at it again through the eyes of God? Can you look at it again through the eyes of God? Please go back and watch that story about my testimony and how I had nothing and what God did and how he spoke to me, telling me to walk into a building and talk to the I want to say landlord, but there's a different term, the leasing manager about a space when I knew I didn't have the money to even get a corner, let alone a whole suite. And how God says, go. I followed his strategy. I did what he said. Had no idea that favor would be showing up on me. And that's another thing I want to talk about. Oh my God. We have to be so careful with the words that we say, because we speak things and we literally speak things into existence. There's such favor on your life. God has a mantle of favor that he puts over us. There's this favor. And I, for one, believe that the favor of God is over my life and he's over your life. When I was praying to God the other day, I was praying to him, Lord, every person I come into contact with, every person that sees my face or hears my voice, let the favor that you have up on me come up on them. Let there be favor. Let there be favor. When I do a presentation, let there be favor. When I am in need, let there be favor. When I'm down and going through something, let there be favor. Everywhere I go, let there be favor in my life. There is a mantle of favor that God gives us. And I know favor ain't fair. I know it's not. Some people believe, well, why is it you and it shouldn't be me? I'm a better person than you. Well, favor ain't fair. You may be a better person, but I thank God for the favor on my life. I'm going to get back to this lady because I know I'm drifting. I'm just follow me because I'm having fun with this because, as you guys know, nothing's written down, so this is all freestyle. Okay, I was in the middle of 2 Kings 4. Where was I at? Elijah said, how can I help you? Tell me, what do you have in your house? She said, your servant has nothing there at all except a little oil. Elijah said, go around and ask all your neighbors for empty jars. Do not ask for just a few. Don't ask for a little bit. My God. My God. Oh my God. That verse just hit me. Because he said, don't ask for just a few. Just because you don't have a lot. Just because you don't have a lot, don't mean you can't expect so much more. God is able to turn your situation around in an instant. I'm going to keep going because I can park there for about the next hour, and I know y'all don't want to hear me for an hour. Elijah said, don't ask for a few. Then go inside and shut the door behind you and your sons. Pour oil. Now, remember, she said she only had a little bit of oil. So don't skip this. And I'm in verse 4. Pour oil into all the jars, and as each is filled, put it to one side. Didn't she tell him she only had a little bit of oil? God only have a little bit of talent. Only know a little bit about writing a book. Only know a little bit about doing this. Only know a little bit about doing that. Why you got me going out here getting all these jars? Well, what we about to do with them? Why are you putting this unction in my spirit to do this or that, or to get office space when I only have one client? I remember when I was looking for office space, I didn't have not one client. And God was like, you need to get an office space. I want you to get a receptions room. I want you to get an interview room ready. I'm like, I don't have a client yet. When God tell your butt to do something, and I mean that with respect, you better get moving. So this is a message of getting yourself prepared and getting moving. I don't care how many clients come back left and right saying, hey, Z, we got to put hiring on hold for a minute. I'm going to do what the heck God tells me to do. So anyway, let me jump back to this and not make it about me. He said, pour oil into all the jars as each is filled. Put it to one side. She left him and afterwards shut the door. Shut the door behind her and her sons. They brought the jars to her, and she kept pouring. When all the jars were full, she said to her son, bring me another one. But he replied, there is not a jar left. Then the oil stopped flowing. She went and told the man of God, and he said, go, sell the oil and pay your debts. You and your sons can live on what's left. I can't even begin to break that story apart again because we've already done a podcast on it. I think it was called Look Again. I think that's the name of it. So if you didn't listen to that podcast, go back and watch it. So I won't dive into that the way I really would love to right now. But the point of it is this. She didn't see she had much to work with. And the man of God comes along and basically says, hey, you need to get prepared. You need to go get a lot of jars and don't get a few. And what's interesting is the level of faith that she had is the level of faith she was blessed. So however many jars she went and got, that's how many jars got filled. And as soon as all those jars were filled, it said the oil stopped flowing. Interesting, isn't it? Let's look at Psalm 91 real quick, one of my favorite Psalms. Psalm 91. I'm not going to read the whole thing because I think I just read it, the other day. But anyway, Psalm 91, I read it all the time. It's a powerful psalm. Actually, before I even go to Psalm 91, I want to mention, remember the story of Joseph. And you guys know we've talked about Joseph quite a bit. What's amazing about Joseph is that, and that's back in Genesis. I know I'm jumping a little bit, just bear with me, but that's back in Genesis. What's amazing about Joseph, and I caught this and I says, I got to share this with my podcast audience. In Genesis chapter 39, this is when Joseph went to Potiphar's wife, who later tried to sleep with him and he wouldn't, and she had him thrown in jail. But anywho, in Genesis 39, verse 2, it says, the Lord was with Joseph and he prospered. And he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. When his master saw that the Lord was with him and that the Lord gave him success in everything he did, Joseph found favor in his eyes and became his attendant. I was going to show you guys about a good maybe 15, 20 passages in the Bible, but I think we'll be sitting here all day about specifically when the Bible says the Lord gave him success, the Lord made him successful, the Lord blessed him to be prosperous. The Lord gave him success. So if it's for God to give, why do I need to be stressed out about which direction I think it needs to come from? Because he's able, now I'm going to jump to Psalm, he's able to command his angels concerning me. So let me see, where is that at in the Bible? Well, go to Psalm 91. Psalm 91 verse 11 says, for he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways. They will lift you up in their hands so that you would not strike your foot against a stone. You will tread upon the lion and the cobra. You will trample the great lion and the serpent. Because he loves me, saith the Lord, I will rescue him. I will protect him, for he acknowledges my name. He will call upon me and I'll answer him. I'll be with him in trouble. I'll deliver him and I'll honor him. What I love about that, and let's back it on up a little bit because the whole psalm is good. In verse 5, it says, you will not fear the terror of night, nor the arrow that flies by day, nor the pestilence that stalks in the darkness, nor the plague that destroys at noonday. 1,000 may fall at your right, Z, 10,000 at your right hand, audience, but it will not come near you. Jump to 11 again. For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways, and they will lift you up in your hands. I don't know about you guys, but I firmly believe it. God commands his angels concerning us. Why do we need to be stressed and worried about something that's not working out? Now keep in mind, I know what it's like to be homeless. I know what it's like to have powdered eggs and powdered milk. You guys know my story for those who've been with me for a while. And it's something about going through things. I know I'm drifting a moment. You guys just got to follow me. I literally was telling God the other day, or was I writing that in my book? I'm so grateful for all of the things I've been through, the good and the bad. Because I've been through so much, and especially losing my son, it's almost like anything else that comes my way, God's already proven and shown that he's got me. Does that make sense? He's already shown it. So this is just another storm, another pivot is what I'm calling. It's a pivot. And I'm going to survive and get through it. I want to leave you guys with one passage. And where is it? Is it Matthew 25? Matthew 25. This is one of my favorite parables in the Bible. I'm going to leave you with this. You guys may think I'm kind of preachy today, and you know I'm nobody's preacher. But anyway, Matthew 25, I love the story of the parable of the talents. It's actually one of my favorite. And I know it's in reference to the kingdom of heaven, coming again and this and that. But I love this parable that Jesus told. And remember the parable of the talents when Jesus says, again, it would be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his property to them. To one, he gave 5 talents of money, to another 2 talents, and to another 1 talent. And I'm not going to read all through it because you guys already know the story. And the bottom line in that story is that the one who had 5 talents went out and invested it and did some things with it and basically doubled his money. And Jesus like, hey, well done. The one who had 2 did the same thing. And you guys already know. But the one who had the 1 talent, let's see what that person did. I'm going to read this again just in case there's some new subscribers to the channel, because we've been getting new subscribers every day. The one who had the 1 talent, and when you get time, read this story if you're a new subscriber. I've read it before many times to my audience that's been with me for a while, so I'm not reading the whole thing, but it's in Matthew 25, and it's verse 14 through 30. So the one who had the 1 talent, he says, Master, because basically, the guy, the one that owned the field came and says, hey, where's my investment? And he says, in verse 24, then the man who had received the 1 talent came. Then the man who had received the one talent came. Master, he said, I know that you are a hard man, harvesting where you've not sown and gathering where you've not scattered seeds. So I was afraid. Whoa, there's that word. I was afraid. And went out and hid your talent in the ground. See, here is what belongs to you. So he said, God, I know you gave me a talent. I know you given me something to invest, to do something with. I was too afraid. I didn't want to lose it. I was idle. I lost 2 clients, 2 of my biggest clients. So how can I be thinking about the talents you gave me right now? I lost my job. How can I be singing or writing or painting or starting that business or starting that organization or whatever it is God's put in your heart to do? How can I be doing that when my marriage is where it's at? How can I be doing that in my condition that I'm in right now? You get my point? I'm just throwing out some random examples. So it says, I was afraid. So here's your talent back. I'm giving it back. Ooh, let's look at the response. And this is I have a red letter Bible. So this is Jesus telling this. In verse 26, his master replied, you wicked, lazy servant. So you knew that I harvest where I've not sown and gather where I've not scattered seeds. Well, then you should have put my money on deposit with the banker so that when I return, I would have received it back with interest. Take that talent from him and give it to the one who has 10 talents. For everyone who has will be given more, and he will have an abundance. And then he goes on to say a couple other things. Did you catch the first part of that? Did you catch that? It was kind of like no excuse. So anyway, I'm not going to go into it more because I really want to keep going. Oh, God, give me wisdom how to wrap this up. Sometimes God pivots you and it's okay. Sometimes he orders the pivot. And that can be in any fashion or form. God knows I've experienced some pivots recently in my life. All I'm saying is, can you sit with God and ask him to open your eyes? Ask him, God, show me what's in my house. Show me what's in my hands. What is it that I have? What is it that I have that you want to use to your glory? You obviously allowed this to happen for a reason. What is it? Look at your situation again through the eyes of God, is what I'm getting at. And ask him to show you what it is he wants you to do. So, I love you all. I love you. I love you. I love you. You know I do. I pray that you've been encouraged by this. Remember, the title is, I think I'm going to call this When God Pivots You, or When God Sends a Pivot, something like that. Anyway, I love you guys. Hope this makes sense. This is Z with Unlocking Greatness. What is this called? Unlocking Greatness Podcast? This is Z with Unlocking Greatness Podcast. Bye-bye. Hello, everyone. Thanks for listening. This is Z with Unlocking Greatness Podcast. Please don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and the notification button. Love you all. Bye-bye.